What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crowded Lake, and today we'll be continuing Misunderstanding by ElliottGreen333 on Wattpad. If you'd like to check out the author or the book, both links will be in the description below. I really recommend you check it out because this author is amazing and you should support them. So today we're starting at part 7, Deceit. As Virgil and Logan left, I couldn't help but feel sick to my stomach. Virgil's onto me. I know it. He knows me damn too well. I slipped back into the room, melting back into my original form. A deep breath filled my lungs. I turned back to Roman's sleeping form. As I did, I sat and thought to myself, how in the world am I going to fix this? Even more so, how am I going to keep it from Patton? I don't want him to get involved in this. My poor darling has been working overtime with Thomas lately, and I'd hate to add to the unneeded stress on him. He's too perfect to be worrying about shit like this. I just want him to be happy. I wanted to protect our relationship, and yet here I am, watching some late-night snooze because I knocked him out with some spell I don't even know. I sighed, rubbing my gloved hands up and down my face. This is a nightmare. A real, waking nightmare. My own personal hell. Suddenly, Roman stirred again. He let out harsh groans and began to stretch as if he woke up from a coma. I sat up, taking a defensive position. I was ready for anything, ready to be attacked, or worse. I don't know how mad at me he still is, but maybe that'll all pass considering I brought him back home in one piece. But that might be wishful thinking. The prince finally opened his eyes. He looked around the room, glancing over every inch of detail around the room as if he's just seeing it for the first time. Then his glance fell upon me. I swallowed the huge lump in my throat, watching his face read mine. "Hello there," he greeted with a kind smile. To say I was surprised was an understatement. I was expecting to be yelled at or hit or struck with a sword, not friendly greeted. He pushed his bed covers over his feet, swinging his legs over. He tried to walk, but his legs must have felt like jelly as he immediately fell to his hands and knees. I rushed over to help, thinking it was the least I could do. I grabbed his arm and tugged upward, getting him back on his feet. "Thank you for that. Say, what's your name?" Again, I was struck with surprise, but he didn't seem to notice. "My name? I'm Deceit," I stated like an obvious fact. "Okay, Deceit. It's nice to meet you," he said. Before I could question him, he started walking around the room. "This is a lovely little place. Is this where you live?" he asked. "Have you lost your mind, Roman?" I yelled, storming up to him. "Roman? Who's that?" My face drained of color. Was he messing with me? Was he trying to get back at me by playing this twisted prank? Is this the definition of a mind game? "You okay there, Deceit? You seem to be a little pale," he pointed out. Okay. This was very funny, Roman. I've learned my lesson. This is my payback. Whatever you want to hear, I'll say. Just drop the act, I told him. He rose an eyebrow, scoffing a little. "I don't know what you're talking about. And why do you keep calling me Roman? I don't know any Romans," he said, continuing to look over his mountain of posters. "Okay, this isn't working," I stated. I grabbed Roman's arm, leading him back to the bed and sitting him down. I stood across from him, slowly losing my temper. "Tell me everything you remember," I said. "Oh, okay, let's see. Not a lot, actually. Mainly just a lot of darkness before waking up with you here in your fancy-looking bedroom. Then you kept calling me Roman, and I was like, I'm not Roman, and now we're here. Or did I miss something?" He pondered. I stared wide-eyed at him. I took another deep breath. "What do you mean by a lot of blackness?" I asked. "Oh, well, it was like I didn't exist until I just started existing. I can't really explain it much better than that. Say, are you going to keep that poster with the knight on it?" he said, referring to the sword in the stone poster. If you're not, I'd like to keep it. It speaks to me. It's your poster, Roman. This is your room. You made this room, I explained to him. The prince looked around the room, his face scrunching up in disgust. Really? I don't know about that, Deceit. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. I could tell I was getting panicky. This cannot be happening. An idea popped into my head. I ran over to his closet, opening the door to see his mirror bolted to the inside of the door. Maybe by seeing himself, he'll start acting more like himself. I ran back over to his bed, dragging him over to the mirror. He stared at it for a couple seconds, just a long silence while of him staring at his reflection. I was crossing my gloved fingers, hoping that this would do the trick. Dang, I look good, he finally muttered. Do you feel any different? I asked, hoping to nudge him a little bit. Honestly, a little overdressed. I mean, I get that you're wearing that cape and all, but why wear a tuxedo to a birthday party, am I right? He asked, going deeper into the closet. He looked over at all the clothes he had, picking out a casual t-shirt and jeans. This was a disaster. What the hell have I done? I shut the doors as Roman carelessly began to change. I felt like I was going to cry. Everything was going wrong. I mindlessly walked over to Roman's room. As I shut the door, I pressed my back into it. I didn't want to admit it to myself. I didn't want to believe that my magic did this, but it was true. I erased Roman's entire freaking mind. Part 8. Patton. I slowly woke up a few hours later. A rested smile appeared on my face. I felt amazing. Much better than I did when I went to sleep. I must have been more tired than I thought. I sat up, rotating my back to get it to pop. When I stretched, I noticed Dee was gone. That was odd. Usually he doesn't wake up before me, but then again, who says he went to sleep? He always had a hard time sleeping in my room. He's too nervous someone might walk in and see us together. Shrugging the thought aside, I got up and went into my bathroom, stripping myself down and getting into the shower. I felt disgusting after the other day. Thomas wanted to film some last-minute shots of just me, and while I don't mind, his big camera lights always get me sweaty. Scrubbing myself clean, I escaped from the shower and looked at myself in the mirror. My freckles were sitting calmly on my cheeks while my bright brown eyes sparkled. I giggled to myself, brushing out the curly swirls on the top of my head. Once I was done, I threw on my light blue shirt and some black leggings. If I'm lucky, Thomas will be editing today, so I can just hang out with Deceit all day. I love being with him, and I hate it when I can't. I know he comes over to the side of the mine just to see me, and it's so hard to tell him I'm busy and watch his face drop, but not today. I exited my room, trying not to make too much noise in case anyone was asleep. It was at least 7 p.m., and I know people are so tired. Across my room, Deceit was leaning against Roman's door. He looked absolutely petrified and stressed. Maybe he needs me more than I thought. I skipped over to him, making him jump when I actually saw me. Hey, darling, he whispered, a little stressed smile running over his face. Oh, hi, Dee, I said, pecking him on the cheek. He hummed in pleasure, the stress starting to melt off him. A stressful day? Like you wouldn't believe, he sighed, laughing a little bit. Did you sleep well? Yes, thank you, I replied. Even though he seemed to be calming down, he hadn't moved away from Roman's door. I eyed him weirdly. What you doing in front of Roman's door? I asked him innocently. Oh, I was just making sure he was doing well, yes, but when I found him, he was dead asleep. I'm just making sure no one else goes in here, 'cause they don't need to, I said through gritted teeth. I for sure thought his tongue was doing the flick out at me, but to my surprise, it didn't. He was just being honest to me. I smiled. This is why I love him. He's always being honest with me. All right, I'm glad you two are getting along, I teared, giving a kiss on the lips. Suddenly, there was a bang coming from the other side of Roman's door. I yelped a bit in fright, jumping back. Deceit leaped out at me. He pulled me into a protective hug. What's going on here? I asked. Oh, Roman sleepwalks. Didn't you know? He said. That's when the door opened. We both jumped, staring wide-eyed at the person in the doorway. The prince stood there wearing a casual red top and neat baby blue jeans with pearl-white shoes. There you are, Deceit. I was looking for you. Roman cheered, picking Deceit up with his underarms. He pulled him to a rib-crushing hug, making Dee gag for air. Yep. Missed you too, buddy. Deceit laughed, pulling out of the hug. Aw, you two are getting along more. That's so sweet, I gushed. Roman looked over at me, no recognition in his face. Have we met before? He asked. Before I could answer, Deceit shoved Roman back into his room and shut the door. He used his magic to surround the door handle with a yellow glow, making it immobile. Silly Roman, we've been so close lately. He's losing his mind a little bit. Dee laughed in a high-pitched voice. I raised my eyebrows, watching the nervousness drip down his brow like rain. Are you okay? I asked Deceit's side, grabbing my hands and slipping them into his own. I'm sorry, darling. I just wanted my new relationship with Roman to be on the down low. I'm hoping I could build enough trust with him so we could tell him about our relationship. I mean, if he trusts our love, surely the others will too, right? I don't want us to have to hide our love anymore, and me and Roman being friends could be the key to that, he sighed. I don't want to hide it either, Dee. But you know why we must. I took a breath, looking back into Deceit's eyes. I love you more than anything. And if you think you can conceive Roman to accept us, I'll be all for it. I smiled. He seemed relieved, pulling me into a deep, loving kiss. I promise we will be happy together. He purred. I smiled, letting him go. See you tonight? He asked. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I said. With that, I vanished down the hallway. I made my way down the stairs, a new glow about me. I was so happy that Deceit was trying to get Roman's blessings. If Roman trusts our love, hopefully Virgil and Logan will too. Hopefully Dee's right. Speaking of the lovebirds, I jumped onto the bottom step, watching the two sitting on the couch. Logan was on one end reading a book, while Virgil was nestled into the corner, flipping through the different TV channels. Good evening, guys, I bubbly greeted. They both looked up, smiling at me. Greetings, Patton, Logan said, quickly going back to his book. Are you two hungry at all? I asked, skipping happily into the kitchen. I was grabbing things to make spaghetti. Logan and Virgil sprang up, the two obviously taking my offer to make food. They leaned over the counter, watching me get the stuff ready. We were casually talking and laughing. I enjoyed nights like these, where we could all just forget our days and talk while the smell of tomato sauce looms in the background. That was until we felt the tug of Thomas summoning us. Thank you so much for listening today. If you'd like to read the other chapters, go back into my Wattpad Reloads playlist and you can listen to the rest. If you'd like to continue the story, subscribe and be tuned for next week when I continue this amazing fanfic. Once again, thank you to ElliottGreen333 because this fanfic is amazing. All my links are in the description below, where you can find my Etsy shop where I make cool beaded things, plus all my socials. Thank you for listening, and, much like Deceit trying to hide Roman from Patton, do your best.